Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special edition of Sparks, Entertainment and Art. It's me, who you expect to see, but we are joined by Christian Huey, who we all know from the Sparks.
All you ever think about is Sparks.
All you ever think about is Sparks, and he is kind enough to let me appear with him on occasion and talk about albums. And today we have a really special guest, and that is Noel. And Noel is the person we all know from this album that I'm holding up, Is There More to Life Than Dancing, which was re-released on Record Store Day. And this is an album that I hold very, very dear. And I'm not a disco person, but this album has a very, very special place in my heart. And today we're going to talk about what makes this album so special with the person who is the amazing vocalist on this album, which is Noel herself. So Noel, can we welcome you to the show?
By all means. Hello.
Hello. It's great to have you. The first question is, how the heck are you?
Fair to Midland, holding my own. Yeah, no, I'm great. Life is good.
Let me just say at the outset that we are so excited to talk to you. And let me just tell you very quickly my background, which is that I bought the single and the album in 1979 when I was in Boston. And I loved Dancing is Dangerous, and my roommate and I would dance to it and just have a great time. But you know, the rest of the album didn't really resonate with me at that time. However, over the last few years, it has become, I consider it a masterpiece. I consider it an absolute masterpiece. And it's not only because of the involvement of the Maels, but it's because of what you bring to it. And that is what I really hope we can explore today.
Well, Monte, I am so excited that you bought the record in Boston. Were you at the club when I appeared there?
No, well, no. The answer is no.
I did make an appearance at the club in Boston.
Which club? Do you happen to remember?
It was called The Club.
Oh, okay. No.
Yeah.
No. I wish I had known.
It was a really big disco, and wow, it was just phenomenal, and everybody was so enthusiastic and joyful, and wow, we had a great time.
Oh.
So I'm sorry to miss that.
Well, that was one of the really interesting things that I learned reading your liner notes and listening to a couple of your other interviews. I hadn't realized that you had toured this thing and that you had gone to different clubs. And that is something that would have been so much fun to see.
Right. It did not get that much publicity at the time. So I'm not surprised that you had not known that.
Mm-hmm. Let's go back and just talk about how this started back at the Troubadour Club. And how did it happen that Ron and Russell Mael came to you and said, hey, we want you to explore, come and join us on doing an album?
Well, I wish I knew the answer to that, Monte. I have thought about that many times. I recently read an article that they had written saying that they had worked with Giorgio Moroder at Sound Art. And that was a recording studio that I worked at as a background singer on some projects. And so I don't know if one of the recording engineers mentioned it to them, that they knew of this female singer that might fit the bill for what they were looking for. I don't know. But someone that they know suggested that they come and see the band I was in. We were getting ready to perform as the Troubadours. And so when they showed up, as I was exiting the stage, walked across the dance floor, Russell walked up to me and said, I'm Russell, and this is my brother Ron. We're of the group Sparks. And I went, oh, number one in heaven. Because I had been hired to model at the Fiorucci store in Beverly Hills, grand opening, and the T-shirt logo that they had were two angels with their little Cupid wings on the T-shirt, and they played number one in heaven, while me and 5 other models danced on the stage in those leopard skin pants and wielding about 4-foot-long ropes of red licorice. It
Wow.
was the craziest thing. But it made an indelible memory in my mind of that song because they played Number One in Heaven while we were up there performing for the grand opening of the Fiorucci store. So, and that was only a couple of weeks before Ron and Russell showed up at the
Wow.
Troubadour.
And hark,
So
here are two angels to greet you at the Troubadour. Ron and Russell.
It was a match made in heaven in a lot of ways because, they clearly saw something. Well, there we go, another heaven pun. So they clearly heard something in the way you sang, and I know you mentioned in the liner notes that Ron talked about your stage persona, but in the recording, but it was obviously more than that, wasn't it?
Well, yes, and how they discerned that I had the type of voice that they had been looking for the songs that they had written that they didn't feel fit their image. They were looking to produce an artist who could sing those songs, and how they ascertained that my voice, I was just singing background vocals and playing the farfisa organ and doing some percussive embellishment. So, and it was a loud punk band with blazing guitars and drums. So I don't know. It's flabbergasting to think about what made them choose me. I don't know. And Ron said that I looked like he does on stage, and I totally got that because I do, at the time, I'd play the farfisa, and I'd look out in the audience, and I'd pick one person who was standing there as kind of like a challenge to me to engage in the stare down. And I always won.
Yeah. So you were very conscious of what you were doing on stage in terms of the visuals. So that's
Yes,
probably something that they picked up on right away.
I had been a professional runway model long enough to have honed the skill of the stare down, because that's what you do as a professional runway model. You go out there and work it, and you stare at the audience like you are the it.
Uh-huh.
Sell the clothing, right? I mean, that's what they want to see. They want to see somebody who's got a great deal of confidence, self-confidence, and self-assuredness, and feels like $1 million in the outfit, so they buy it.
So the Troubadour was a club that you were playing at pretty often in those days. Is that right?
We had played it a couple of times. We played the Whiskey A Go Go. There was a club out in North Hollywood that we played at. There were a lot of these showcase venues in Hollywood and the surrounding areas where bands who were looking to get a record deal would go to showcase themselves. We did our own self-promotion, made flyers. I took pictures. I had learned some photography tricks from Jack Lorenz, who did most of my photos. And I took the band pictures. So they were more striking than a lot. And I'd been an art major in college, so I had that kind of Bauhaus sensibility in my approach to art. And that's just, I think that is what it was appealing to Ron and Russell. They sensed that this wasn't your typical garage band. We engaged in a lot of theatrics and antics on stage and had innovative backdrops. You know, once you get into the in crowd in Hollywood, it's like everybody knows everybody, and everybody's pulling for everybody, and everybody wants everybody to succeed. So we're all helping each other out. It's a really small group of people who are that dedicated, and you stay there long enough and persevere, and you get noticed if you're worth your salt.
That's really nice and refreshing to hear. I'm an actor here in Austin, and when it comes to that scene in LA, I hear very much the opposite. So it's really nice that that you were part of a group that was so supportive of each other.
I performed in Austin one time at A&M University. I remember Austin very well. Rowdy town, lots of college, university
Can
students.
be, yep. I was one of
Yeah.
them.
So you had the meeting, and what was the next step? I guess that you somehow you ended up in a recording studio laying down some tracks with them, right? Some basic
Well,
tracks.
yeah, they invited me to come to their house for a couple of rehearsals to hear the songs, and the songs, some of the song lyrics hadn't even been written yet. So Russell was there going, ah, da, da, dee, 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 you know, no song lyrics yet, but here's how I want the melody to go. And so we had a couple of those rehearsals. By the second rehearsal, Ron had the lyrics down, and Ron and Russell had the lyrics down. And so by the time we went into the studio, I mean, this was like within a week or two. I was performing in December at the Troubadour, and they flew off to France in January.
Mm-hmm.
So this all happened lightning fast. And I informed them at the time that they asked me to do this. I said, I'm signed to a modeling contract that I can't get out of quickly. So I'm going to have to keep working. And I was booked on average 5 or 6 days a week. So I said, we're going to have to work around my modeling obligations. And they were willing to do that. But it meant that I missed out on a lot of what was done in laying down the tracks. And I totally missed the background singers. They put their backing tracks down before I ever went in to do the lead vocals, which was a
Really?
switch.
One of the really great things about this re-release, I'm holding the CD, is the vocal guide versions where you hear Russell laying down what he expected. And so this is what you heard when you came into the studio then?
Yes, I had him put that very low into the headphone mix, and I had the background singers low, and I took one headphone off my right ear and put it behind my head so that I could hear my room voice. That's really critical for me to stay on pitch. I had classical training in college from a really renowned classical singer named Byron Thomas. And he taught me, I told him, I don't want to blow out my vocal cords, but I want to really learn to express my vocal range. And he said, yeah, you've got about a 4-octave range going on. So by all means, let's learn to use those vocal cords correctly. So that's why I had the voice I did. I had made deliberate efforts to maintain and preserve my voice over the years of singing.
Well,
Can I ask you?
Go ahead, Christian.
All right, I just want to ask you a quick question about your vocals on the record. First of all, that is the thing that I think really kicks the sound of the record into a whole other level is your singing. But I was curious. You mentioned that you had guide vocals that Russell had put down for you. Was there any kind of I guess I want to say voice coaching, not that you needed it, but to sort of let you know the kind of feel, the kind of emotional quality, the kind of style that they were wanting for the record. Were they ever explicit about that? What they wanted from your voice in those terms?
They would make suggestions, but I will tell you that I, from a very early age as a child, I had an eye issue called lazy eye, amblyopia, and I had to have an operation when I was 12 to partially correct it because I was seeing in 3D. And I know that sounds absurd, so there's no way to make you understand what that means. But if I tried to learn to read music, the 5 lines and the music notes on the page, they pop off the page, and my brain gets confused. So I had learned by ear, and I had deliberately decided to be an interpretive singer, not a singer who is stylistic. So whatever the song lyrics dictated, I tried to emote that emotionally to connect with the audience. So Ron and Russell had some suggestions, like the night they invented love, they said, "Can you make this breathy?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I can do that." And then, "Is there more to life than dancing?" They recorded it in the wrong key, not the key that we had rehearsed. And they said, "Well, can you reach that high?" So, they challenged me in that way, and I absolutely loved being challenged. I was up for it. So that was my approach to music. If they had an idea for a song, I wanted to hear it. And we worked collaboratively that way. And I was able to double my vocals. They were very surprised that I was so good at doubling my vocals, if need be, for effect. So they had me do that.
What does that mean, double my vocals?
Well, I do my first track. I lay down my main vocal, and then I sing along with it. And I could do that 3 or 4 times. So they were pretty surprised. But because I didn't ever read music, I had developed an exquisite ear. And I could come up with harmonies. My dad was a musician, played saxophone, piano, sang like Bing Crosby. He taught me how to sing. I was always his backup singer growing up. And I developed my ear because of him. He was always singing. And he always expected me to chime in on harmonies. So it was no problem.
I'm completely in agreement with Christian that it is your singing and the way and your phrasing and what you do on this album that really puts it over the top, because it gives it an emotional core. And your range, as you've kind of hinted at, you have this amazing range throughout the whole thing, and you're able to use your voice to convey so much with it. Not really sure what my question is. It's just the chance to tell you that, I think, is just really great. Go ahead, please.
Can I just interject that one of my favorite songs that I used my voice techniques on was "I Just Want to Be Seen with You." It's a tango. I thought it was absolutely brilliant that Ron and Russell had come up with a tango on a disco album, and I wanted to do it justice. So I can't tell you what a joy it was for me to sing that song, and I thought the lyrics were so hysterical.
The lyrics are absolutely hysterical, but it's interesting because it's so Ron and Russell, because the lyrics are so hilarious on the one hand, but at the same time, the meaning of the lyrics conveys something that's kind of, has meaning and really makes you think about the person who's singing it. And then that's where you come in, because you convey all of this in just your singing of that song. And let me just add that.
I thought they had tapped into a little bit of Cole Porter on that song, and I just thought it was brilliant.
Of the 3 songs that are on the re-release, that's the one that just stands out to me as really a masterpiece.
Can you see someone dancing to that on, like, Dancing with the Stars, a tango? I mean, it would just be such a hysterical moment on the show.
Yeah.
I love the thought of it. Ron and Russell and I really connected on such a soul level, I thought. Mm-hmm. I got them, they got me. we were kind of on the same page.
Had you done much singing for a for a disco record versus what you were doing with your band at the Troubadour?
I started with a top 40 band, and we worked 6 nights a week from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. And then when we would go to, we performed at the Sheraton Waikiki, we would go from 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. And at 2 a.m., I had to put on my Betty Lou costume and be like Papa Do Run Run and do a 50s review with the guys. So I had this high-pitched Betty Lou voice. My name is Betty, you know.
Yeah.
That was at 2 o'clock in the morning. So my vocal cords got a lot of use, and they became a fine-tuned instrument that could do virtually anything in 4 octaves. So this was a walk in the park for me. It really was that hard, and I loved being able to emote, convey the meaning of the songs.
Having the re-release really helps to answer a few questions because, as you know, on the first release, there's no one credited.
Nice to see them get credit. Paulino da Costa, the famous Brazilian percussionist, he was just such a gentleman, showed me all of his various instruments that he had strewn all over the studio. I talked to him about percussion because I was very interested always in percussion. And he was just wonderful and so accomplished. So the bongos that you hear, the conga drums that you hear on The Night They Invented Love, that was Paulino. And he went on to perform with famous people.
Always wondered.
Yeah, I think I saw Paulino perform with James Taylor one time, or with Sting, or, you know, I mean, everybody used Paulino because he was so incredible. And the Peter Chang, the synthesizer player, who came in and let Ron play his synthesizer, a synthesizer I had never seen the likes of before. And Peter was just wonderful. So to finally see them on the credits, and then of course the background singers, I never got to meet them because I was working, and I'd have to come in at 11 o'clock at night. They'd already have recorded their background vocals, and I never met them, and I wanted so badly to meet them because they were just fabulous.
They're fantastic.
So yeah, I know Ron and Russell had to immediately take off to support a tour, Number One in Heaven. They were gone to Europe, and I was kind of left to Virgin Records. I was at their mercy for all of this interim stuff, the Mickey Dolenz video and the tours of the States and everything Virgin arranged.
How did it happen that you were the one who had the only copy of that video?
Well, I'll tell you what, I was so ill when I got over there. I had begged them to please, let's postpone this because my doctor is begging me not to go. I had 103 fever. The stewardesses on the British Airways plane laid me down and put blankets over me in the business class section that was deserted and turned out all the lights, and I slept for 10 hours. And I hardly had a voice by the time I got over there. And it's just a miracle I was able to do any of that. Richard Branson was so disheartened that I wasn't one of those flip your legs up in the air like a can dancer, you know. He wanted me to be one of those, like Mariah Carey or Jennifer Lopez. I wasn't going to do that. It didn't fit with the music. I had this vision, and Ron and Russell agreed later that it was a good vision of what they were trying to convey in their music. But Richard just thought, nah, not disco enough. And he said, besides, as he's seeing me off to the plane to go back home, he hands me a picture. He said, you know these guys? And it was the Sex Pistols. He said, they're the new thing. They're the up and coming thing. Disco's dying. It's going to be dead. So I think, I got home from that, and my manager called me up and said, we received a package, and it was the master, the video. And then my attorney, Stan Diamond, he had to go over because he was David Bowie's attorney also. He went over to meet with Richard Branson, and Richard said, we're not going to exercise the 6-album option.
So let's go back. So there was originally a 6-album option, or 6-album plan?
The Virgin Records signed with Sparks Productions to produce 6 albums of their music with me singing. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I would love to.
From what I understand, Sparks was never even told by Richard Branson that they weren't exercising the option. I'm incredulous. How could they not know? But yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I'm just a little speechless.
Me too.
Yeah.
I was absolutely devastated. I thought we nailed it, And Sparks was so versatile. It was like, it doesn't mean that you're going to get the same thing every album. Sparks has never done the same thing every album, have they? I mean, they don't.
Wow,
do that.
that is a really great thought, isn't it, Christian? I mean, who knows where they could have gone producing Noel for 6 albums?
I know. Darn it.
Right?
We missed out.
Darn it.
Well, Richard Branson, everything just went downhill for him after that, right?
Clearly, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, he could be a trillionaire now, if only.
Going to space or something. Who knows?
But the tours that you did it sounds like they were really whirlwind experiences. And I know you talk about a Gramercy Park experience and a few others in your notes.
The Gramercy Park experience. I'll tell you what, that was just the most terrifying experience I've ever been through.
Is that right?
I had this cross-country flight. I had to catch a plane out of Los Angeles, LAX, fly all night until I arrived at 11:45 p.m. Eastern time in New York. Was driven by taxi to the Gramercy Park Hotel, went to the desk clerk, had the Virgin rep call ahead to inform them that I would be late arriving and not to give my room away. And when I got to the desk clerk informs me that they've given my room away.
No.
So I am barely alive at that point. I mean, I am so exhausted and tired from that flight. And they said, well, and I said, you're not expecting me to try to find another hotel room at this hour, are you? And they said, well, okay, hold on a minute. So they come back and they say, well, all right, the best we can do is put you on a fold-out couch in the banquet room upstairs. So I said, are you kidding me?
It's better and better.
Are you kidding me? So I go up to this absolutely pitch black room that is enormous and is square with windows on 2 sides. And in the middle of the room, there is this rickety old beat up fold out. The fold out bed, with springs that squeak and creak.
Mm-hmm.
And and
Okay.
this pipe coming out of the ceiling. And how could this be a banquet room? And I'm going, who puts a pipe out of a ceiling? I mean, and this makeshift curtain rod from which this ridiculous curtain that doesn't even go to the square of where the pipe drains into the floor. And this is my shower. I'm going, are you kidding me? There's a handle on the pipe that I have to use to shower on.
That's really
So I
absurd.
fell into bed in an absolute stupor. And at about 2 or 3 in the morning, first of all, I'm hearing all of the New York sounds, right? The taxi cabs honking and the people yelling, and it's just constant commotion downstairs. And in the middle of the night, I
But
hear
that
this
wasn't
woman,
conducive to healing.
she's screaming, somebody help me, please help me. I went downstairs the next morning to have breakfast. The little breakfast shop was full of very pretentious people having breakfast, and there were no booths available for me. So I don't think I even got breakfast. I think I grabbed a croissant at a bakery or something.
So to put
Oh,
a positive spin on this whole experience, though, when you were touring, from what you've said and from what I've heard you say in interviews, it sounds like you were extremely well received in the various clubs and things.
all except that one club in New York where
Hmm.
the 2 men were so drunk that they walked out on the stage, on the dance floor as I was performing, shouting that to everyone that she's lip syncing.
Oh my gosh.
And I went over to them. I've got a live mic. I'm singing the song, and I said, "I'm not lip syncing. I'm singing." and all the audience, the people are trying to pull them off the dance floor, and going, "Can't you hear her? She said she's singing. She's not lip syncing." And it was just pandemonium. And I looked back over my shoulder at the DJ, and I said, "I can't. I just can't." So I went over, handed him the microphone. He handed me my backing tracks, and we exited. But other than that, I had spectacular appearances in all the other clubs, and a wonderful time.
So before Record Store Day and the re-release of this, there were tons of information that we were clueless about, including the music video directed by Mickey Dolenz. Uh, First of all, do you know how that came about, and what was it like working with Mickey? He seemed to sort of get the vibe that it looked like the record was presenting. What was it, all that about?
I don't have a clue as to who picked Mickey or why, except that I was told that Mickey was becoming well known for these music videos that he was doing, and that he was cutting edge, and he was one of the best and in high demand, and that he wanted to do a music video of the song. So I don't know who made that decision, or all I was told was, "You've got a plane ticket and you're going." And when I got sick, I said, "Can we please reschedule?" And they said, "Mickey's going on tour with the Monkees, so this is the only opportunity. You got to do it." So that was it. And when I got there, he even had a storyboard and was all excited. And I was looking at him through these glazed eyes going, "But I have 103 fever."
Oh, that kind of glazed eyes.
I'm barely here.
Well, it's
And
a
so
fun video.
when he excitedly ushered me over to this coffin that they had set up with stage smoke over it, and said, and I'm wearing 5-inch heels, right? He lays me down in this coffin that I barely fit in, my 5'9" with 5-inch heels on.
Mhm.
And he expects me to gracefully rise up out of the smoke and start singing.
That's cool.
But I could not even lift my head up because I was highly allergic to the smoke, and it almost suffocated me.
Yeah.
Mickey had a storyboard with a fantastic story that he wanted me to realize, but I just couldn't. So he said, well, you know, I'm experimenting with this new technique. We'll just do close-ups of your lips and your eyes because those are your best features, and we'll do some standing, and we'll just call it a day. So that's what we did.
So
Awesome.
I'd like to ask you two questions with the benefit of 45 years since the album, and I'd really be interested in your thoughts about these two things. The first is, why do you think this album has resonated so deeply with fans over so many years, to the point that they were just elated that it was re-released, and it meant so much to so many people to get to hear you in this beautifully remastered version where you could really hear the sound. So, you know, for me, it was night and day. And so I'm really wondering why you think the fans have taken to this album so much. And then the second thing is, I'm wondering what your thoughts are about it when you look back on the experience now that it's been a few years later.
Well, I think the fans today see how forward thinking not only the music but the fashion was that we brought to the table. I think young people had no idea that there was this very avant-garde music and art element alive and well in LA at the time. It was kind of like the West Coast Andy Warhol Velvet Underground movement, but nobody knew about it. So when the Sparks documentary came out, I think people really got it at that point. And Russell, when he called me, and by the way, they did have to track me down because my name had changed because of marriages a couple of times.
Oh,
so,
I know what you're referring to. Okay, yes.
a long-lost musician called me from an island up off the coast of Seattle and said, Noel, they're looking for you. When Edgar Wright was doing the documentary, and they had every intention of interviewing me for that, but they ran out of time in LA. So yes, they did have to track me down. And Tom
I stand
Haig,
corrected on that then. Okay.
Tom Mooney, the drummer that
You
worked
you
with
did
me for a
listen to
while.
those you did listen to those podcast episodes. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I love your podcast. I do. I think your YouTube videos, they're wonderful. You and Drew are just great.
Mhm.
And what do I think of it 45 years later? I feel like somebody dropped me in the set of The Wizard of Oz, honestly.
Mhm.
I just cannot believe that this has happened, and I'm just so grateful and tickled that there's a new generation of fans, as well as my generation of fans, still enthusiastic about the music, because it's timeless, right? It really is.
I think so.
It is timeless. It's the first impression I had in 1979 was, oh, this is a disco album, and so that wasn't my thing, and that was that. But now I hear it as something much different, much layered, and there's so much depth to it, and so much going on there.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's a work of art, and I'm glad people appreciate it. I just love Ron and Russell to death, and I'm so happy that they keep keeping on, because, wow. Have you listened to that The Girl Is Crying in Her Latte?
Oh yeah.
Oh, have we?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And Ron and Russell continue the theme with And We Go Dancing,
Mhm.
I listened to that and just went, oh my word, they have even stepped it up more.
What
Wow.
is that theme in your mind?
We Go Dancing?
Yeah, the theme that they're carrying on from what you did, because yeah, I'm just
Dancing
wondering.
is dangerous.
Dancing
Dancing
is
is
dangerous.
dangerous. The theme
Mm,
goes on.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. It's a bit of a
yeah,
sequel.
yeah,
yeah.
That's
that's a
funny.
really interesting thought.
Blew me away.
Yeah.
Yes,
Wow,
it
that's
did.
really great.
Well, this has been so wonderful. Drew, sorry, we were talking about Drew. Christian, any?
Well, how long before Record Store Day, when those releases happened, how long before that were you approached by Spark saying, "Hey, we want to re-release this thing"?
October 4th of last year, I
Wow.
received a phone call from Russell.
So he found you.
He said, Noel, we did the video, the documentary, the Edgar Wright documentary, and people started asking, but what about Noel? The
Hmm.
fans started asking, but what about Noel? So we've
Ta-da.
decided to release the album. And I was just absolutely floored and absolutely thrilled and tickled. I just couldn't believe it. That after
Well,
all these years.
it's our gain as well, for sure.
Well, I think I'll speak for both of us just to say that we are so happy for you. This is all very well deserved, but things don't happen by chance. They happen because someone had the idea of re-releasing this and giving people a chance to hear you and your beautiful art. So.
And God bless Ron and Russell Mael for doing that. It's just so incredibly generous of them, and I am so thrilled and grateful. And all the fans, I love you. Keep dancing.
All right, can you give a special shout out to my friend Drew?
Drew, you the man, the baseball man who knows so much about music that it blew my mind. Yeah.
Well, you have made Drew very happy. You have made us thrilled to have this time with you. And I just want to say thank you. It's been a wonderful conversation. Christian?
It's been a
Oh, you took the words out of my mouth. We've both been waiting for years to be able to have a conversation with you, and I'm thrilled. Thanks so much for making time.
Well, thank you both. I couldn't be happier to do this with you. I'm a great fan of yours, and woo, what a ride.
Thank you very much, Noel.
All right.
Grateful.
Bye, Noel.
All
and
right.
Monte.
Yeah,
Talk to you
Christian.
guys soon.
All right.
Monte for sure. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Make sure you subscribe, because this is the content you got to hear. This is it right here. I don't know how else to put it. So subscribe. We will be back soon with a new episode. Thank you again, Christian. Thank you again, Noel. And folks, we will see you soon with a brand new episode.